Lord, because they don't know what thus saith the Lord means. Right. And neither do they, I guess you can say, take the Bible as something that's valid, or I guess you can say solid, even though it's like one of the most accurate books ever written in the entire world. But the twist that I want to take today is just kind of asking you guys some questions, just kind of see how we will all answer them if someone was just talking to us in a casual conversation and want to really know, what does the Bible say? Because we live in an age. I'm not sure if you said it. Yeah, you did say it the other night. It was powerful. It's like, at first we were in the age of knowledge. Knowledge is power. Knowledge is power. Remember those slogans all the time? Knowledge is power. Don't waste your brain. Your brain. Remember that egg in the pan is like, this is your brain on drugs. And that was the age that we went through. I think that's back when I was growing up, and like
those too.
Late '80s, early '90s, and then we went into this age that was like it boomed. It was information age, where information was at our fingertips, so we can Google. Well, at first it was AskJeeves.com. I remember using that, and I type in a question, and it was like, how many miles is it from Miami to Africa? And it was like, boop, and it pops up, and I'm like, wow, how'd they know that?
Who's Jeeves?
Yeah, who's Jeeves? And then they just cut it down to Jeeves.com, and they kind of got a little slick on us. But the whole thing is, we go from one age to the next, and then to the next. So the age that we're in now, Pastor Tony shared with us, was we're in the age of I don't care about the knowledge, I don't care about the information. All I care about is how you present it to me. You know what I mean? More or less, if you want to kind of add in or chime in on it. But it's like the knowledge isn't important. How to find it is not important anymore. I just want to be entertained, so to speak, or behooved. Like, wow, yeah, I never really thought of it like that. So it's almost like you got to wrap it up in a different package in order for people to pay attention. And so it's like, should we be doing that, or can that help us out as a Christian? Right. So this is something I want to talk about today, and it ties into the questions, like, how can you speak to someone that doesn't really know Christ or care to know Christ, and then be interested, like seriously interested in knowing what it is that they're questioning. So I don't know, you want to like kind of add in on that?
Well, just it's what I use as the example of the iPad. It doesn't get you any more information. Right. It doesn't give you knowledge, because knowledge is intimate.
Right.
When the Bible says, you know the truth, and the truth sets you free. It's not the truth that sets you free. It's the knowledge. It's knowing it. It's living it. It's believing it. And that's kind of what where you're talking about is that's kind of gotten short-circuited, because it's not about what I know. It's well, I can go on the internet and I can watch every preacher. And in fact, today there's a clip of Spurgeon.
Oh, really?
Actually preaching.
Wow.
It's one of the first original talkies, and it's only about 30 seconds.
Right.
But the point being, we got all this stuff, but are we any better today than we were with all these great preachers?
No.
Because we don't have the knowledge. And then the iPad,
right,
which doesn't give you any better information, but it's like really cool. And I don't know if you see the new thing, like Good Morning America, ABC has this thing. You shake the iPad and the globe spins and it picks a story. And see, that's what people are getting attracted to.
Right.
And that's why churches are getting bigger, and they got the laser shows, and they got the smoke
and stuff coming from under the stage, when Pastor walks out.
Yeah, and it's like, but has the message changed? Do people still have the knowledge? And that's what we're lacking. That's what people are lacking, is that knowledge. Because we're not interested in the knowledge anymore.
Right.
We're not even, we're somewhat interested in the information, because, well, we're building bigger and better search engines, and now we got Bing.
Right.
Do you know the philosophy behind Bing? It says the reason why Microsoft wants you to use Bing over Google is they say it thinks for you.
Wow.
Well, I don't want a computer thinking for me.
Right.
But what it does is, that's a nice way of saying, we're going to put on top, when you Bing something, we're going to put all the web pages that are the ones that paid us money to show you.
Right.
All right.
Yeah.
But Bing uses it that they're using fuzzy logic in order to help you not have to go through 3 million web pages.
True.
It'll think for you.
Right. That's
you know,
that's scary.
that's scary.
It's definitely scary, because I mean, that's the age that we're in now.
Right.
You know, we're from the knowledge to the information to wow me,
Mhm.
almost in a sense,
That's good.
and it's just like that's what's carried over into our realm of things. And like you said, the message has not changed.
Right.
It's the same Bible. Nothing changed about the Bible. You know, you might have different interpretations or different forms of it. I guess you can say people interpreting the Bible, or I guess their own understanding of it. But the word has not changed. Now, watch this. One of the number one questions that an atheist or an agnostic person would ask is, can we trust the Bible? All right, I'm gonna repeat that again. Can we trust the Bible? And I always ask, okay, why do you ask that question? And most times you'll get the response, quote unquote, like this. Well, it's been translated or passed through many different hands. It's been I've heard one that said it's been translated 16 different times, or rewritten, however they want to say it. And I'm like, well, you have to do me a favor, do your research on that. You know, and why was it actually I guess you could say translated or taken from the original Hebrew and Greek and some Aramaic in there and actually placed into the English language? And did the original text ever change? You see? Because see, that's what people assume. They assume that just because it was translated, that it was changed. Nothing about the original text was changed. It was just placed in a language that we can now understand it. And see, that's one of the things that we have to be mindful of, because if you ask a Christian that, they might get all, you know, well, was it really, did King James really have it, you know, did he really do that? Like, man, then that must mean that something could have been left out, or it could have been changed to fit the times that we're living in now. And that's all presumptuous thinking. Is always, you're assuming that something could have taken place, you see? And if you're not well versed in studying about your Bible, you can fall into that category of people that kind of get backed in the corner and get, well, I don't know, can we really trust it because it was passed through many different hands? Alexander the Great had a chance to get it, and you know, King James, you know, yada yada yada. When we're never supposed to back up. And you know, I read this the other day too. You know, as a defender of the Bible, you know, the Bible doesn't really need us to defend it. And I said, wow, I never thought about that. He said, because it's almost like going in front of a lion with a sword trying to defend a lion. You ever thought about that? Like, does a lion really need you to defend it?
Right.
I said, wow, that is powerful. I'm going to remember that. But the Bible does need us to carry it. To carry it and to proclaim it. The word proclaim means to speak, to stand on it, to believe. It's almost like with vigor. Like you're. It's almost like your life counts or depends on it when you're speaking about it. And that's what preaching is really about. Preaching is not a profession. Preaching is a passion, and you have to be passionate about it. So going back to that question, can we really trust in the Bible? What would your answer be, and why? Anybody? Any takers?
I would say yes, we can trust the Bible, because when we look for text, for example, the dictionary, can you trust that this definition is true? Mm-hmm. And you would say yes, it's true because of the context. Mm-hmm. And I would say the same thing with the Bible. Yes, the Bible is true because of the context. Historically, about the things that have happened that we know, mm-hmm. that others know that have happened. And then it's also proven if you actually use these things now, mm-hmm. it still reaps the same results as it did.
Right.
If I sow an apple seed, I'm not going to get an orange tree. Right. The same type of thing was talked about in the Bible. And mm-hmm. those same precepts and principles are still alive, and until they die, I keep reading it.
Absolutely. That's good. That's definitely good, because that's actually a part of the apologetics, what they call the evidential apologetics, whereas you can practically apply the same things that were taking place during that time and in these times. And something that you said that was powerful too was that it almost, rewind what you say. You said it's almost like practical, or is
the same things that you do then, they're still practical today. We can still live by the same precepts. Yeah,
it was something else that kind of dropped me, but we'll move on.
Okay.
But it was just it's something of the historical aspect of it.
Right.
Historically, these events did take place, mm-hmm. and believe it or not, there's been records all over the globe of biblical events that had to be recorded, like say during the Roman Empire, when Rome was in control of Jerusalem. Well, they had to record a lot of stuff, including Jesus' crucifixion. You know what I mean?
Right.
So this is like, you can't deny that Jesus was crucified. Or there are other texts that are in place. Like right now I have one by the name of Josephus. I think didn't you get a copy of that? Somebody got a copy of it.
So I've had it for years.
Oh, see, I have it. I got it about 3 months ago. And Josephus was I mean, the dude was brilliant.
They're historical books.
Historical, and it's like to the T.
It's like reading an encyclopedia
Right.
that was written in biblical times.
Right.
And it's survived all these years.
All these years.
And it pretty much backs up
Mhm.
just about everything in the Bible.
Everything.
But from a historical standpoint.
Right. And so, and people respect Josephus, and it's more or less because he was correct me if I'm wrong. He was he of the Roman? Oh no, he was.
He was a Jew,
He was a Jew, okay.
but he was very well respected in the Roman Empire as a historian.
Right.
So he wrote historical books for the Jews as
Right.
well as for the Romans.
Right. I mean, it's a powerful book. It's a very thick book. If you have time to read it, it's good. But just stuff like that, you know. Go ahead. Yes,
Well, I was going to say, one of the other things, you know, it's like, and even when you study the Bible, if you take the spiritual stuff out,
Right.
just study it from a historical standpoint, it's been
It's all
proven that
accurate.
it's historically accurate.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, we could argue about the creation, we can argue about the flood, but the reality is, when you really study some of the historical points,
Mhm.
the Bible talks about who was in charge in Rome.
Right.
Hey, we know Pontius Pilate was the precept for that particular part of Rome. Well, wait a
Right.
minute, you know, why didn't they make up a funny name
Right.
or a different name? One of the things that just happened, like I'm talking the last 18 months, for years they wondered if David was truly a historical figure. Because some have argued that David wasn't real. He was like a story,
Made
that
up.
he was a conglomeration of several people. Until one day in Israel, they're doing excavation and they found a household, and in it says, "This is the house of David," and
Wow.
everything identified David, the king of
Right.
Israel. So there is now historical evidence that
Right.
David was king.
Yeah.
Not, you know, and we take it for granted, but some people would argue.
You know, to kind of piggyback on what you're saying too is, why didn't someone during that time come up with something to kind of debunk Christianity at that time if it was such a farce? You know, think about that, because they were very well educated people back during that time. So why didn't someone write a book to say, this is not true, that's not true, this didn't happen? Because everyone knew what was going on,
Right.
and they
living it.
exactly. And on top of that, of course, the New Testament hadn't been fully compiled during Jesus' time. It wasn't until a couple hundred years after, or a couple years after that. But they still had the Torah. You understand?
Yeah.
The Torah was still in place. So why didn't anybody say that was not true, or that didn't happen? Think about it.
Well, one of the other things that, again, going back to